Hi, Enid. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to introduce everyone to Enid Madrigal with Abstracts Tech, based out of Tustin, California. And Enid, thanks so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Stephen.
So you are the head of product there at Abstracts, and you're managing a team of how many?
We currently have three, and we're looking to onboard a fourth very quickly here.
Okay. And how many employees in the whole company?
About 105 or so.
105 employees. Okay. And Abstracts Tech is a science-based firm that's focused on creating plant-based extracts and technologies for the cannabis and the hops industries to support cannabis sellers as well as breweries. And you're providing those technologies to those companies to help them get higher yield for their products and solutions and higher quality. Did I get that somewhat right?
Yes, that's correct.
Anything you would add to that?
I would say that Abstracts as a whole is really innovating in the brewing space today. We're the first to market with this type of extract, and we're really changing and shifting the way that the brewing space is really manufacturing beer today.
Very good. So you contacted Completing a few months ago. It sounds like there was a bit of organizational work that needed to be done in terms of streamlining some processes and helping everyone get clear with more visibility around project work and task assignments and certain initiatives that you had going on. Can you just help us understand why you decided to reach out and really what you felt the critical need was?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started working with Abstracts about 9 months ago. And when I came into the company, we had processes set up, but every single step of the process wasn't necessarily captured or in the correct order. So with Completing, we were able to actually capture all of these processes in the correct order and put them into a project management system that helped us really truly understand from start to finish the project handoffs, every single task that needed to be completed, all the documentation that was required for product launches. And what it truly gave us is visibility to a timeline for each of our projects so that we could do a better job of planning our product launches.
Got it. So what were some of the symptoms that you were seeing, maybe some of the stress cracks in the organization before you had this system in place? Like how was it manifesting in terms of just frustrations and such?
Yeah, simple communication breakdowns were the primary source of pain for everyone. Just the lack of understanding of where a project was starting, who it needed to be handed off to, and where it needed to go was very painful for the organization. We do operate across 3 different buildings. So some of our operations start in one building and then they have to move to another building for completion of manufacturing. So that's where a lot of the communication breakdowns were happening. And now having everything built into a process, we have visibility to when something is complete in one building and needs to be transferred to another building to complete processes. So it's given us really true clarity in terms of where our projects are in the pipeline, what needs to be done next, and how far we are from completion of the project.
Got it. So with these kinds of technology initiatives or process initiatives, there's always a bit of hesitation. And at the end of the day, we're helping to change behaviors and make everyone's life easier. Did the adoption plan and the rollout, did that go the way that you would like to see it go in terms of helping people just get used to the new steps, the new systems, the new processes with minimum disruption?
Yeah, I would say adoption is always a challenge. Anytime you're integrating a new technology, there's always some hesitation to trust the process or trust the system. So with our rollout strategy, what we ended up doing is starting with one team and then slowly pulling in additional teams that needed to feed into that process or feed information. And what ended up happening is as we slowly pulled people in, that trust started being built out almost in word of mouth. So now we had one department who was fully trusting the process and now speaking to another department who's saying, hey, this department's using this process and it's helped us deliver things on time. Maybe we should see if we can set something else up for our 2 teams to do this. So now we've gotten the organization asking for help in branching networking across our project management system.
You make a really critical point there is oftentimes these kinds of initiatives become top-down command and control, and they're imposed on the teams as opposed to allowing the trust to occur more organically. And as trust builds, then people tend to open up to the change when they see that it's actually making a difference and impacting others in the organization that they respect and that they want to follow along with. So it sounds like you let that more or less organic process take hold, but with clear intention. Is that a fair way to characterize it?
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. And that clear intention piece really came to fruition when people across the organization started asking for things that removed them from the process. So once we started realizing people were asking questions to remove them from the process, it became more of a negotiation of, okay, how far can we remove you from the process before things fall apart? And that also helped with buy-in and building trusts for people to understand that they do still need to have some semblance of responsibility and accountability to it to make sure that everything's running smoothly.
Very good. So the goals of the project were to build in visibility and clarity in this efficient, transparent project management process. And you decided to go with Asana. And then Susanna Byram, our head of implementation, was able to start working with your teams and helping get those prototypes built out, get that functionality working, get people providing feedback and how we can improve it, and then just iterating on top of those early building blocks until we got those workflows where you wanted to be. So all the handoffs, the approvals, the feedback loops were all transparent, and then layering in the right automation and reporting to help streamline those workflows. In terms of the impact, what you've seen so far after a few months now, 3 months maybe, what have you seen change?
I would say that we've probably increased our transparency of workflows by 50, if not 75%. There's visibility to what projects are and who's working on them now, from the idea phase all the way through to what's in manufacturing today. We're still not in a perfect world and getting to 100% transparency, but I'm very comfortable saying that within the next 6 months or so, as we integrate additional teams and bring in other pieces of the process, we will certainly get there. I would have to say that from communication standpoint, my email is probably reduced 20 to 30% just in random questions being asked in Outlook. Now they're all tied to tasks within Asana. So all the communication streams are in one place. All the information that we need lives in that one spot. And clear visibility across the organization is really like the key factor for me. We created a place where our executives can go and look at the system updates. They can look at where our projects are in process and what their expectations are for timing. And that transparency for them has really put them in a position where there's more trust from the top down as well, that things are moving in the right direction.
Wonderful. The ability to quantify some of these things is not easy, but you know the impact when, like you said, your email box is not ringing off the hook, so to say, and communication is flowing more efficiently through the tool. And then just in terms of like the business outcomes, like do you see that projects and tasks are being delivered and completed more accurately, more frequently, more on schedule, on budget? Have you started to see some of those outcomes yet? It might take a little time, I understand.
Yeah, so we've started to see more consistency of workflows. I'd say we're probably at about a 50% improvement in people all working towards one goal now instead of being siloed and working on different projects and losing our communication streams with that. I would also say that just the general telephone game, there's a huge reduction in telephone game. There's a huge reduction in confusion, and I'd love to quantify it for you. But the reality is that having everything in that project management system and organized from start to finish gives us traceability so that we're not extending our scope and experiencing scope creep and projects growing, to 2 to 3 times the amount of work that we actually needed to do without adding resources.
Thank you. At the end of the day, these are quality of life conversations, right? You have goals and you're reaching high and you want to achieve those goals. And we want to do that in a way we're not burning out people, right? We want to make sure that we're protecting our finite time and energy. In terms of just the overall quality of the work experience, do you think it's made a difference?
Oh, absolutely, Stephen. I can give you it's kind of a funny example, but it's a great example. So last summer, after having been with Abstracts for 2.5 months or so, I went on a pre-planned vacation to Europe, and I was gone for about 12 days. And I'd like to say this wasn't true, but when I came back after those 12 days of vacation, none of the projects that I'd left behind had been moved at all. I say this to people and they think it's funny, but I came back to find out that oranges are now blue and bananas are now grapes. And those types of experiences took significant untangling. I felt like I couldn't leave work and trust that things were still moving when I came back. And with implementation of the system, it's been a guiding light and everybody knows what they should be working towards. So when I take a day or two off or when I take a week off, I can come back and know exactly what's been done, how far we've moved projects without having to spend weeks figuring out just what went wrong.
Wonderful. If you could zap out 2 or 3 or 6 months and see sort of your next step as far as evolving your process improvement plan internally, what do you envision going forward?
I say this a lot, but I envision a day where somebody asks a question and everybody else yells out, "It's in Asana."
Well said. Perfectly.
That is my dream come true.
So you're continuing this evolution process and we'll just continue to take advantage of all the tools that are there and all the improvements. So last question. If you're going to give a company advice on their journey, if they haven't quite yet started down this pathway of helping to streamline workflows, what would your 1 or 2 tips for them or advice be?
The first would be to make sure there is a point of continuity. You always want to have one person on the project who understands how everything is working start to finish, how the integrations are coming together, so that in the event that, something happens or the system goes down, there's got to be a person who knows how to get things done from start to finish. And the second thing I would say is listen to your head of integration. That person will provide you with options. That person will provide you with perspective on the differences between why doing one option versus another. And it's your responsibility to match it to the way that your company operates and make sure that it's efficient for the way that your company's working. So I would say those 2 things are the ones that are really going to set people up for success.
Okay. And when you say you're the head of implementation, do you mean your internal head of implementation or your completing head of implementation?
You're completing head of implementation, knowing that is the expert that you hired.
Got it. Okay. I wasn't sure because there's champions on both sides. You guys have your champions on the inside who are really driving this change. And our goal is to keep pace and help where we can to improve and accelerate the overall adoption plan. But ultimately, the teams have to want it, right? And we can never force these things. So, all right. Thank you so much for your time. Great. Deeply appreciated. And if you need any help, I know Susanna is right there. And if I can help in any way, never hesitate to reach out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the help, for the opportunity to work with you guys. It's been instrumental in helping us get some visibility and clarity around here. So very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Enid. I would greatly appreciate it. Have an awesome day.